All right, guys, welcome to our weekly webinar. It is Sunday, March 19th, 2017. Thank you guys so much for being here. The markets have been a little bit crazy right now. Last week we had our FOMC meeting. They decided to raise the interest rates on the dollar, which long term should have some bullish effects on the dollar. But as of right now, I am going to stay bearish on the dollar for a little bit at least, just based off of the technicals, not talking about the fundamentals at this point, just talking about what the charts are saying. This is my opinion of the markets right now. So let's just jump right into it. So let's go ahead and look at the economic calendar for the week. This week is honestly pretty light with the economic calendar. You guys can see scrolling through the weekly overview of the economic calendar, we don't have a whole lot. We've got some Australian dollar news tomorrow. The following day, we've got some CAD and New Zealand news that are pretty big. But throughout the week, we don't have anything standing out. Thursday, we do have Janet Yellen speaking with our unemployment claims. But other than that, this week should be pretty light as far as the economic calendar is concerned. So I'm going to be looking at the charts from a technical perspective rather than last week when we were looking at the charts in a fundamental perspective. So for right now, I am going to stay bearish on the dollar until we see some sort of pullback. And it is Sunday, okay? So as we know, Sundays, the markets are a little bit like, if you guys, the word trappy a little bit, they don't really give us a very clear idea of what's going on the first couple hours after the markets open. So we are kind of like waiting, staying on the sidelines and waiting to see what happens with the dollar. But from a technical standpoint, so we're looking at gold right now. You guys can see, let me get out my marker right now. From a technical standpoint, you guys can see that gold is kind of making a little bit of a bullish flag. It looks like it may be ready to make another leg higher. We do have some pretty strong resistance in this area, but it looks like it could, if the dollar continues to weaken, we could see this pair pull up not this pair, this commodity, gold. We could see it pull up into like the 1240 to 1250 area before reversing. So I am still looking for a little bit of weakness in the dollar right now. I'm looking for it to strengthen, but the rate hikes aren't always going to give you the exact analysis. They aren't going to tell you exactly what's going on. Just because you have a rate hike doesn't always mean it's going to be bullish right away. We're talking on a long-term time frame. Don, you said weekly gold candles will look a little bit better. Weekly on gold. Yeah, so still, weekly on gold, it still looks a little bit to the bullish angle. We had a pretty bearish week the week before last, and then we saw price kind of retrace that entire week. So the bulls are definitely still in control. We could still see a push up for the bulls before moving lower to the trend line. Overall, long-term for you swing traders, I do think that the dollar is going to eventually strengthen, but as of right now, I think that we could be looking at some dollar weakness for a little bit. Sheldon says, fundamentally, the new financial year start next month. That's true. Definitely. So next month, we could see some bullish dollar. As of right now, I am looking at a little bit of a bearish dollar. So I'm looking for a continued sell-off on gold, or continued buying on gold. I'm sorry, guys, with a weak dollar. So it's continuing to move up higher. So let's go ahead and move over to the dollar index, which looks basically the opposite of gold right now. It looks pretty bearish. You guys can see dollar index looks pretty bearish, after last week's rate decision. And let me just show you guys, on a higher time frame, how it's a little bit difficult to trade right now with the markets. We had a very, very strong trend, a very strong economy throughout the past couple years. But basically for the past 2 years, we've been pretty sideways on this market, and we are inching up our way higher. We are breaking out of this giant, giant bull flag that's being made on this pair. So that being said, I mean, I do think that the dollar has potential to go higher. I think it's better to kind of sit on the sidelines and wait for a bullish dollar. I think it's going to probably move towards this trend line. It's probably going to move towards down here. Kind of like gold is going to move up a little bit more and then end up heading up higher. So inversely, let's go ahead and look at the euro dollar. All right, so looking at the euro dollar, we are fairly bullish on this market right now. Euro dollar is still making some big moves, but it's sitting at this weekly resistance, right? We go ahead and we look at this resistance trend line, and you guys can see in the past where we've actually seen some resistance in this pair. All right, we've seen some resistance right here, some support back in this area. So we may see a PRZ, a potential reversal zone at this area, the 107.80 area. So I'm going to be looking for selling euro dollar once it moves a little bit higher. But as of right now, I'm just on the sidelines on the markets, guys. I'm considering moving our weekly webinars to Mondays. That way we can kind of get some data from the week in the markets. But as of right now, I do think Euro USD is going to continue to be bullish for a little bit. All right, USD Chafe, USD Swiss franc looks pretty bearish. It's sitting at, if we kind of look at this area, this zone, you guys can see this previous zone of support and then resistance and then support again and support again on the trend line. And you guys can see right now it's sitting on some support. So I'm waiting for a break of USD Swiss franc. And at that point, we'll be bearish on the dollar for a little bit longer. But for right now, overall bearish on the dollar. All right, pound yen. Pound yen, I'm not really interested in trading this pair right now, even though we have dollar weakness. It's bouncing off this trend line quite nicely. If we actually kind of extend this zone that you guys can see, if we extend this zone at 124.15 area, you guys can actually see some previous resistance followed by some support and heading to that level right now. So maybe moving up to that area, but at that area, I may be looking for signs of reversals. We just have to see on the 4-hour and the daily if it's going to break that level. All right, pound yen, I am not interested in trading at all right now. You guys can see it is really stuck in this wedge. All right, it pulled back up into this wedge. I can actually delete these trend lines so you guys can kind of see. We're just moving sideways. We've been moving sideways on this pair for about 38 days. All right, so over a month, we've been sideways on this pair. It's just been in some very, very tight consolidation. And it's been in the tighter consolidation for 25 days. So since this began, you guys can see we've just been sideways, no real movement in this pair, waiting for a breakout to the top side or the downside, and then we'll be looking to trade that. AUD USD still looks a little bit bullish. All right, so last week we talked about a couple different trend lines in this area. We didn't actually take a trade on this pair because of the volatility in the markets with FOMC. But overall, I would still be bullish on this pair. It is kind of stuck in this resistance PRZ right now, possibly looking to move higher. With a weak dollar, it will move higher. So I'm looking for buys on this pair. Once the resistance is broken, I think that'll offer a great opportunity for us to be buying. Same thing with NZD USD. We are back above this trend line. This is a multi-year trend line. It goes back until 2014. If you guys actually pull this all the way back, if you were to put this on the daily and zoom out a bunch, you can see it goes all the way back Now, looking at the weekly too, it is pretty bullish. We saw some pretty significant support levels hit at this area last week, this zone, possibly looking for a move higher. But overall, again, still bearish on the dollar. So basically, whichever pairs are weak for the dollar, that's what I'm going to be looking to trade right now. We're looking for this resistance right there to be broken, and then looking to take a buy on this pair. All right, UJ, USD Jappy. Definitely a solid pair to trade right now. It is at this level, at this support level. If it breaks it, we're probably going to end up meeting these support levels down in this area. Possibly if you threw a trend line on it, maybe down to this area. You guys can see on the 4-hour. We may be looking for this pair to continue a little bit lower down to this trend line and then bounce off of it. All right, we're waiting. Currently, we're waiting for dollar strength to continue. Alrighty, USD CAD. Let me delete some lines out of here. We got a break even trade on USD CAD up here. We're looking for it to go higher. Alrighty, guys, so we are on a trend line. We're sitting on a trend line. We're sitting at the resistance of this trend line. You guys can actually see on the daily, this pair actually goes back to 2014, middle of 2014, which you can see right here. Some very, very, very strong, oops, sorry guys. Some very, very strong, my mouse isn't very steady right now. Pretty strong trend line on this pair. So I'm looking to see what it does in this area. It may pull up a little bit higher, but overall, you guys can see the structure of the markets right now. We do have a little bit of a bear flag forming. It's sitting at pretty strong resistance, possibly ready to continue lower. We can take a quick look at oil. USD CAD and oil do the inverse of each other. So if oil decides to drop lower, then we're going to be looking at USD CAD definitely moving up higher. So again, guys, overall this week, I am looking for, not even for the full week. Again, my little disclaimer that I normally say at the beginning is take my analysis with a grain of salt. This analysis is meant to be for a weekly time frame, and not necessarily like weekly as in I'm looking at the weekly charts, but my analysis has to do with the next 5 days in the markets. Don, you said go back to Euro daily. Give me just a second, guys, just a moment. All right, go back to Euro daily and tell us what you're seeing. So Don, Euro daily. Let's go ahead and see Euro. All right, so Euro daily. We had a break of this resistance trend line that you guys can see right here. We may be looking to pull up to this area, but in this area, we have weekly and daily resistance. So it's kind of a toss-up of which direction it's going to be heading. I'm looking to see what it does in this area, but overall, so Don, you were asking this, overall, I would be pretty bearish on this, bearish on the dollar. So bullish on Euro USD. Let me just show you guys the weekly. Let me throw this trend line down. I don't really like using weekly trend lines as much because you guys can see we're actually at a weekly trend line. So it's going to be hard to tell if this resistance trend line breaks or not. But overall, with euro dollar, I would be looking for buys on this pair. I would be looking for a break of that resistance and looking for some buys on this pair for a limited time. Sharjil, you're asked, can we look at EG, Euro, GBP? Not a standard pair you look at, but just to compare it to my understanding. Sure, we can. I don't usually do this, but I will go ahead and throw up Euro GBP. I don't trade this pair that much, but I have traded it a little bit in the past. Right now it's in a lot of consolidation. It's very, very sideways. It does look like it could possibly be turning bearish. Let me see, guys. Just a second. Let me look at the daily. Let me see the Fibonacci levels for this pair. You can see right here marks the 50% retracement level for this retracement. So it could be moving lower, but on Sundays, guys, I don't like to take a whole lot of trades. I don't like to really jump into the markets too early. Sundays are considered trap days to me. But I know Euro GBP does the opposite of GBP USD. I was saying on my recommendation, GBP USD, it's getting towards this resistance level right here. So I'm kind of waiting to see what it does. So Sharjil, I would be standing on the sidelines with Euro GBP. Let me go back to it for a second. And just waiting to see what direction it heads. If it decides to go bearish or if it decides to go bullish. On the daily, it looks kind of bearish. On the weekly, it looks kind of bearish as well. It retraced all of last week's bullish movement back up or back down. So, you know, the past 2-3 weeks have been a little bit difficult to trade, guys. They haven't been very clear in the markets. We've had a lot of fundamentals that have been moving the markets. So it's a little bit difficult to say what direction it's going. I mean, you guys can see, even on this pair that I never trade, markets have been in consolidation for quite a while, quite some time. So you guys know I trade on higher time frames. I don't really look at the 1 hour. I don't really look at the 30-minute as much. I never look at the 15-minute. I never look at the 5-minute. I'm looking to see what's going on the higher time frames. All right, does anybody have any questions? So anybody just tuning in, again, my bias is overall bearish dollar. Drew, you said, would you buy gold right now or wait for more confirmation, like where the daily candle closes? Let me see. Wait till London. Definitely. I don't recommend putting in a trade during a session that's not London. Unless it's a pending order, I don't recommend taking an instant execution order unless you're in the London or the New York session. But Drew, to answer your question, overall, I would wait for more confirmation. I would wait for this resistance level right here, kind of where this magenta line, this dotted magenta line is marked off at. And that magenta line, I believe, is a 23.6. Yeah, 23.6% retracement level of the 2016 low to the 2017 high. So multi-year low to multi-year high, fibbed out. It would be safe to buy gold once a 4-hour candle closes above this zone. Once we have a 4-hour candle close up here above this zone, then you'd be safe to buy. All right, guys. So any other questions, go ahead and throw them out real quick. But overall, I am looking at a bearish dollar temporarily. Okay, I don't know if it's going to last the next few days or the next week or two, but I am looking at a bearish dollar. I will go ahead and upload this to our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to watch the replay, you definitely can. But other than that, have a great trading week, guys. I'll definitely be a little bit more active. Thank you guys for your support while I've been attending to some personal issues. I know I haven't been as active as normal in our Telegram. So just bear with me, guys. Thank you so much. This week is going to be a pretty big week. We're looking for some more trade ideas, some more signals given out. But do look for some opportunities in the markets to sell the dollar this week. But other than that, guys, have a great week. Remember to use that good risk management 1 to 2%. And have a great week, guys.